mean, there was pre-internet painting
Oh, yes.
for advertising and things. Which,
Is there any?
We're not going to blame everything on the internet.
Yeah.
But blame everything on the internet.
But like, you did some Eminem stuff, right? Like,
Yes.
Not Eminem the artist, but Eminem the candy.
Yes.
So, I mean, was that an internet job, or was that a...
Oh no, that was working for a company, but that's not the case of instant audience response.
Right.
You can have a work, you can finish a work, you can get the opinions of thousands and thousands of people on your work instantly if you seek it and post your work to where those thousands of people are interested in viewing it, which is again the internet. But once upon a time we existed in a vacuum where it would take weeks or months for anyone to actually see and reply to and or have any kind of impression of what it is you did, and then some months later to actually feel any kind of response from that. If you weren't having an art show, if you weren't standing in a gallery or having that sort of thing. I think that immediacy, I never really thought about it, but it certainly makes your everyday more hectic. I never really find myself with much of a chance to relax. It always seems like there's always something. As soon as something's done, there's 10,000 more things to do, and there's no real let up. Whereas once upon a time, if you were not home when the phone rang, then you didn't get the message. But now, if you don't reply to the message immediately, everybody thinks that you're all pissed off, or something's terribly wrong, or something is askew in the world, which is, I think it's a lot of extra baggage for everyone to carry around, right?
Jason and I have been talking a lot about nostalgia lately.
Yes.
And the poster world is definitely about a memory of an event, or
yes,
or the band that people loved or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've also often felt that a lot of your, not all your work, but some of it totally reminds me. There's like a real 50s cool hit thing going on. I don't know if that's just.
There might be.
And that's the difference between, there is that distinct, the jazz-y kind of hand-drawn characters versus the crumbling,
the almost
really dense
modern deconstructed cubism kind of thing.
multiple personalities.
It's possible, yes. Anyone, who's seen it in action, they would say definitely. What happened? Did someone flip a light switch? It's really, it's pretty simple, really, in that there are 3 or 4 different approaches to line work that I like to explore at any one time, and they often sort of blend into themselves, but most of that experience is made inside an artist's head as they sit at their table by themselves. But I think it's a matter of having those options to interpret the subject matter, the poster, or the band, or the music, or whatever it is. You need to have a few options to explore, because not every one thing fits into every one other thing. Some of the looser work, some of the square-ended work, some of the more, I don't know, I wouldn't say abstract or expressionist, but I would say maybe a certain degree of expressionism might be in it, is mostly the desire to be less anal about it, or be less uptight, but in the end every line is terribly constructed and every line is completely obsessed over, so there's no relaxation there either. But that was meant to be the point. One of an angular look generally came from trying to capture sketch lines and cement them into a finished piece to retain the sort of liveliness. Then my own inclinations were to explore those sketch lines deeper and deeper, and I just ended up making them very, very specific, which completely annihilated the whole idea in the first place. And sometimes returning to the painting or doing something that's less structured is a way to capture quick ideas faster and still lay them down and not obsess over every tiny little detail as much as you can, which doesn't always work.
It seems hard because you're described commercial artist, even though you're right in between the world. The world of advertising and television and creative expression. I feel like you're right at that line. It must be hard to. I always felt that.
Yeah, it very well can be. When you have clients that don't want something specific, and then suddenly you have clients who want something very specific, it's quite a juggling act to have to satisfy some and then not have to satisfy others, and then kind of get them mixed up in a lot of ways. But that's just part of the part that you learn in doing commercial art for any length of time. Fine artists who don't work as commercial artists have a harder time fitting in with those needs, and then commercial artists who are given freedom, I don't know, sometimes they turn out the most spectacular items, and then perhaps they are then a little bit frustrated when their commercial structured clients won't let them be as free as they could, and we could all enjoy better, more interesting advertising,
More productive.
or just better looking. If the artists are doing a better job, then you'd think that the impact would be greater. But that's all controlled by people their job is not to create, but to organize.
You draw probably more than any other artist that I know. Is it a discipline or is it an obsession? Constantly being drawn.
Seems pretty automatic.
Yeah, no, there's nothing else to do, I don't think. I don't really... If you have something to mark with and something to mark on, then I just find myself doing it. I don't know that I would call it an obsession, because I don't really know anything different. I have...
Which would define obsession.
maybe it was not compulsion either, and it's just behavior, I think.
I mean, were your
Maybe
PGs
it's-
in high school a mess? I mean, were you just drawing all the time?
Yes.
Do you have any?
I've often had my teachers in school, my early report cards, that my mother actually just sent me a package of all my early reports from elementary school. Every single one would say, does well in class, needs to stop drawing. But as a kid, all the way up through high school, as a matter of fact, I had a couple of teachers who told me that they would pull me aside after class and they would say that, oh, you're the only person that I'd let sit here in history class and draw. And I didn't even notice they noticed I was drawing, and I may not have even noticed I was drawing, but I did have a particular ability to answer the question they were asking, to completely pay attention to what it is that they were talking about in the class lesson, and still just be drawing something entirely different. My homework was often not turned in or incomplete, because I just wasn't really a homework fellow, but I could do the work and I certainly know all the stuff, but I think they were always sort of a bit upset at not having caught me out when they would ask that question, like, oh, Mr. Burwell, are you paying attention? And I would answer their question and they would kind of get pissed off. But
What did you draw then? I mean, how much has it changed? I mean, did you draw the mouse on the back of the matchbook cover? Or?
No, I never did that.
Did you never copy
As a
anything?
kid, it was lots of superheroes, lots of comic books. I never made any kind of venture into the real comic book world. But I don't really know what it was. Anything more than cartoons, and I don't really actually think that I gelled into anything worth looking at, except for maybe just 10 or 12 years ago. It seemed like some weird corner was turned where I realized that some of the process is not as I don't even know how to explain it really. It just some weird mental corner was turned where work actually started looking like it should, or looked like it was finished and done, rather than looking like I was an enthusiast continuing to mark on sketchbooks or mark on notebooks, drawing Kiss letters or Gene Simmons.
You a big Kiss
or some
fan?
shit. I was not. I was never a Kiss fan. As a junior high school kid, I was far more of a Steely Dan fan, and that's a little bit more. I always thought it was a little bit more mature myself. But I certainly made it a few extra bucks drawing Kiss on everyone else's notebooks. Absolutely.
So that was your first paid job?
Often. Yeah, lunch. Give me your dessert. Give you $2 if you draw Gene Simmons on the back of my notebook. Yeah, Sharpie marker drawings on jean jackets.
You're an early hustler.
You know what? I even the first 5 years of doing flyers and posters and all that, people would often come and when I had my office at the animation studio, my walls were covered in my early black and white flyers because I was continuing to do those. And people would often come and ask to buy one, and I would just give it to them.